Hello, everybody. Alex here. What I wanted to do is tell you my story. I want to tell you my story about my near death experience. Now, I've uploaded a video about this already about 2 years ago, but I did it with my smartphone and vertical upright, and I told my story and I left out a pretty important part, and I didn't give a little bit of background about myself. And I've had a lot of comments on that thing. It's probably my most watched video out of 318 videos. I think I have 320 or so. So it's pretty important. It That was viral for me. That was before I even was monetized, was running ads or had 1,000 subscribers. It took off, and most of you who are subscribed to my channel probably came here because you may have found that video first. So what I want to do is explain my near-death experience. And what happened was I basically drowned, but I drowned when I was already passed out. So I don't remember drowning, but I was underwater. I was underwater for a while. So what happened was, this was in the winter in the Dallas area, north of Dallas, in McKinney, in 2012. And gosh, so it's already 7 years ago, almost 6.5 years ago. So I had been sick. I had a stomach bacteria, and I was really ill, and I was throwing up and had diarrhea and things like that going on. That's what got me in trouble. But let me give you a little background because of comments I've had. Um, I am a Christian. I was raised actually LDS. I was raised Mormon in the Houston area. I went to early morning seminary. I started primary and Sunday school when I was 3, 4, 5 years old. I went through the whole church program. I did early morning seminary before my high school classes. I went as a missionary and served a mission in Argentina, in Cordoba, in the early 80s. Then I went on to school. I got married and later graduated from Brigham Young University, where you have to have a religion class every semester. That's a requirement to go to that school, since it is a religious school, private. And so you come out with like a minor in religion, and you have to graduate from their what they call Institute of Gospel or Religious Studies as a separate requirement. And been to church and things like that. Lately, I will tell you the truth. I'm not devout into that religion anymore, or any religion. I'm not a church Christian. I'm Christian because I feel like I know the Savior and I know God. And I think that's what you need, because you are the temple. Okay, so let's get back to the story. Um, and the part that I left out is the very first thing that happened that was not on earth in this body. I left out of the last video. You can go back and watch that one. But I didn't remember it because it was in a different time. It reminds me of the movie Inception, where there was a time within a time and a time. So the part that I forgot because it wasn't in this time. And when I went through the gate to the other time, I remembered that I had forgotten it in that time. But I'll explain that. So what happened was, I had gotten a bacteria from a salad. I used to eat a lot of bagged salad from the grocery store. And I would get, they already came like a Greek salad with salad dressing and the croutons and things like that. And I used to buy those just for the ease and simplicity, and I like to eat a lot of salad and vegetables. But they were tainted, and it was on the news in the Dallas area. This was in, I think, December, first week of December in 2012. They had recalls at the grocery stores, and several people were sick, and they were reporting people showing up at all of the hospitals to the emergency rooms with stomach pains and vomiting and this bacterial infection going around. And as I'm watching the news, I'm having it, and I knew I had it. So I had been up one night really ill for over a week and a half, but the last 3 nights before this, I was so ill, I was not sleeping. And I couldn't, have you ever been so sick to your stomach or ill with stomach pain that you can't lay down for too long? You have to get back up and stand up. But then you can't stand up very long because you're tired and you want to lay down again. And I was going back and forth, and I really hadn't had any good sleep in like 3 days. And this was probably at about, I'm guessing sometime it was around 2:30 in the morning when this happened. 2:30, 2:40. When I got in the shower, I was in so much pain, and I had to vomit, and I had to go to the restroom. And what happened was I just got in the shower and I turned on the water as hot as it would go. And here, let me grab something. So I was tired of walking around the house and stumbling and almost passing out and having to lay down and get back up. So I was in so much pain. I got in the shower. I turned on the hot water as hot as it would go. And I got in. And I really like hot water because it gets rid of pain. Like if you have back pain, leg pain, or you have a hard, sore day, you get in the shower, as hot as you can stand it. And if you're in there long enough, it will actually remove pain, take away pain. And I was doing that, and I was going around in circles kind of under the shower head. And I think I had one hand on the wall like this, and I was going around in the water. And then I had suddenly this projectile vomiting. And when that's the kind that hits you, and it just suddenly, and I remember I looked down at the drain, and I had the shower that I had. Let me explain the shower. I lived in a house that was a pretty nice house. It had two hot water heaters in the garage that were side by sides, and they were parallel in a system. So you would never run out of hot water because one would be heating while you were using the other one. So if it was just me and I was recently separated, living by myself, and no one else was home with me. So I got in the shower. It was like the kind of shower with the plexiglass tub that's about, 2 feet or more, 2 feet and a quarter in square. And it's about 4 inches high with the fiberglass, and then the door is another inch with the brass liner, and then it has a glass door that goes up against it that you bang open with the magnet. A typical shower next to your bathtub. And then that was next to two sinks on a countertop, and then a toilet, and then a walk-in closet, a big master bathroom. And it was probably 12 to 14 feet long from the shower in one corner to the closet door and toilet on the other side. So what happened was I got to where I projectile vomited, and I just went bam, and I hit my head against the wall, and I hit it so hard it almost made me black out, and I saw stars, and I slipped off of my feet, and I hit the ground, and I balled up in the shower square area. I balled up, and my left ribs covered the drain, and my head went into the corner by the glass door. And I remember I could see I was on the floor like this, and can you see me? I could see the door and that brass liner, and I knew the water level was going to get that high, and I was covering the drain. I thought, don't fall asleep, you're going to die. You're going to drown. And I thought, oh, you'll be fine. And I couldn't keep myself conscious, and I just went out. Okay, so the next thing I know, I'm going to tell this two-way. This is where the fork happened, like the inception. One part of me remembers waking up, and I was in a big room. I was in a big room about, I say, the size of Miami. It seemed like it was just this huge city-sized room, and it was full of people. But everybody was in their own, it was like cubicle. It was like we were all in this kind of a swirl tail of a cloud or something moving towards something. And I suspect we were heading to the moon. But everyone was in their separate kind of like cubicle container area, but you could see them. But yet you knew there were dividers there, but you could see through the walls. And someone or two beings came up over me. And I was in there looking around at everybody and wondering where I was at. And they looked at me and they said, "What's he doing here? Send him back." It's not his time. And I ended up turning around literally 180 and headed that way and went back to the shower and was told. So I guess somehow, I don't know if those were what you would consider in religion or theology, if those were good beings or if they were grays, or I didn't see faces, but there was someone over. In fact, they were at the front left corner of my box when they were talking to me. They were up here over my left shoulder, above my left eyebrow, and that's where they were. But they sent me back. They didn't want me there. But I think now that I've looked back on what happened and what I've heard kind of from other people's stories, in that they see people in different types of cells or boxes, I think that's where the souls cool off. It's like a cooling off period. It's a place where you go. Let's say if you had a horrible death, if you were being tortured, or if you had a car accident, or let's say you had a sudden death and you didn't even know you were dead. Let's say you were suffocated in your sleep and had absolutely no idea that you were ever in peril or could have died, or, and whatever. Then that's when you go in one of these little cubicle boxes until your consciousness becomes aware that you've passed and you're no longer in your physical body. But one of the greatest things about it is you don't feel any pain. But okay, now let me go back to the beginning of the story that I put in the video 2 years ago, because I forgot the part about the cubicles. And to me, that was like the reincarnation line to go back through the moon cycle. Because if you've taken everything they've given you on earth and you believe all the stories and you've got religious guilt and you believe you're insignificant and God can't pay attention to you enough with his billions of other planets and Oort clouds, that kind of thing. So where am I? I had people commenting saying that I needed to find God and that I should be worried that I didn't see the Savior and I didn't see God. And I want to tell you, in another experience, I have. So I didn't expect to have to meet them again. Plus, it was an accident and I wound up back in my body. And we're going to get to that. So now here's how it started originally was, last thing I remember is I fell on the floor and I passed out. Then suddenly, really what had happened is after they sent me back to the shower, I came up out of my body. And I'm on my knees above my body in the shower, but I didn't see my body below me. I just remember I was laying on the floor and I just got up. And I was back in this mind. I was the same person that I am now, talking to you with the same accent, with the same tone of voice. It was me in the now, I thought. And I just remember getting up off of that floor, and I knew I was in the shower, and I was going around in the shower, and I was on my knees. I knew I'd fallen down. I knew I had an accident. But now I'm on my knees, and I'm going around the water. And I remember thinking, wow, I don't feel any pain at all. It's all gone. I'm like throwing up and having that fit and passing out. It must have helped me expel everything, because now I don't have any pain. I don't feel anything. Then I noticed I was being tickled on the inside, and I remember feeling the water run down from my collarbone and my first ribs, and then just ting, 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 ting. It was like it was cascading down my rib cage. And then I could feel the water going through my heart and around my heart and through my heart. And then water was going through my lungs, through my spleen, through my liver, through my kidneys, through my bowel. It was the most incredible feeling, that all of the insides of my body. I didn't feel any pain, but yet I felt this. It was the tickling hot sensation of hot water going over organs inside of my body. Now at the same time, I'm looking at everything, and I had my eyes closed. I had my spiritual eyes closed. I was in the next world. As Bob Dylan said, the world we can't see. I was in the next world we can't see. But in that next world, I still was in my physical body form, and I had my eyes closed. So I'm on my knees with my eyes closed thinking about all this stuff, and I'm looking around, and I can see whatever I want to look at. I can see the water. I can see water drops. I can see colors. I can hear everything. I know I'm in the bathroom by myself. I know I'm in the shower. I know I'm on my knees. It was weird. It was like I'm talking to you just now. I'm in the same mind as now. but I was actually dead. I was out of my body, and I had no light. I had no vital signs. I had drowned. I'd been underwater for about an hour and a half when I came back. So, but I remember these pictures. Have you seen the pictures of who's the artist that draws those pictures? You see in the consciousness videos and the some of the New Age stuff, which I'm not, by the way, a New Ager. But you know the beings that's made up of all the colors, and it looks like a spirit made of all this energy, and you can see chakra points and the colors and the energy of the colors, and I could see more colors than I've ever seen before, and I could feel it's like I had more senses than the five we normally have. My hands were amazing because I could use my hands to see things and smell and measure, and your hands are amazing because they can actually do all that. And I remember seeing water. This is where the vision, I must have been, from what I remember in that world's time, it felt like maybe 20, 25 minutes. I was just engrossed in the water going through my body and seeing the swirls. And I could see like tattoo patterns. And have you ever heard of Mandelbrot patterns where the pattern goes inside of itself and it keeps repeating? And you're looking at like a paisley looking wing, and then it appears again and again and again. And or the Mandelbrot pattern, or like symmetrical tattoo shape patterns, pattern like patterns. But it's more complex than that. It was multi-dimensional. It wasn't just 3D. It was hyperplane geometry you're looking at in all different colors and lights and spectrums and electromagnetic energy, and but it was like what controls your glandular functions in your body. It's the astral connection between your body. Your glands are your astral connection between astral world and your body with the chakra point vibration. So that's actually true. So anyway, how it ended was I remember I could see the water drops as they would come out of the shower head and they would go through me, and they were hitting deep water. I could hear deep water in my shower. And I thought, why do I have deep water in my shower? I don't even have a drain cap or any kind of plug. And I thought, wonder what, and so I opened my eyes and I looked down and I saw this body there just balled up in the square, covering the drain and covered with water. And I could see there was vomit on this body's head, and there was bacteria and vomit, and it was rainbow colors. It was peach and pink and purple and blue and green, and it was all around his head, and it had eaten all the hair off here, this whole area, and all this hair was being dissolved and digested in bacteria bubbles. I had 4-inch tiles. The bacteria bubbles were going like a tile and a half, maybe 3/4 of a tile in this range above the hair on my head, which means that bacteria had been digesting my hair with the help of stomach acid and creating gas, which is full digestion, creating those bubbles that had gone already 4 inches up the wall. So that indicates some time that I was underwater. And I remember I looked down at that, and then I looked down at my rear end, and that was a mess too, because evidently I'd shot out of both ends when I had my projectile problem and hit the I had a projectile dysfunction and hit the wall. And so I looked at that body and I remember thinking, I think that's my body. It is my body, yeah. But there's no emotions. That's the one thing. You don't have emote. You observe things, but you don't really emote like you do in your human body, your physical body. And I thought, well, I can't be breathing because my nose and mouth are underwater, right? That's the only way I think I can breathe is because, the water level was like right up here above my temple. And I was smashing into the floor with my face like this. And then the water was up here. It was like 4.5, 5 inches deep, but it was just enough. My face was completely underwater, and my lungs were completely full. And I remember just looking at that, and I'm thinking, well, that's not good because I know I'm not breathing and I'm underwater. And then it just hit me. Like it took forever. It was like that second in Inception. It was forever and eternity at the same time. It was a millisecond. I was like, oh, I'm dead. No. And I had this fear vibration that consumed my spirit and just dragged me back into my body. I literally felt myself, my whole ball of energy I was, just sucked directly back into my cranium right there. Just right back. Was it my heart? I think it was in my chest. Maybe I'm not as clear on that. I have to remember. But anyway, sorry about that pause. But so I came back, and I remember then I opened my eyes, but this was a different time because I didn't remember where I'd just come from and everything that just happened. I opened my eyes and I looked up and I saw the water line there, and I immediately jumped up and I pushed myself off the floor. I pulled my rib cage, like this part of my ribs. There's a circle here where that was stuck to the, if you can find it, that part of my ribs was stuck to, and it looked like French fries that had gone through the grater, about a centimeter long or longer, in a circle pattern, all diced up like French fries being cut. And I sucked myself off the drain and punched the door open and went spinning out on the floor. And then I sat back. I was on my heels and my butt and my hands, my palms behind me, and I just went. And I was looking, I was spitting out this water from my lungs while making this vocal noise. And all the water came out, but it was like a hose, and it just shot up on the sink, on the countertop. And I looked around at my hands, and I was splashing in water that was like half an inch deep, on the floor. And the water had gone all the way across my bathroom floor to the little divider wall around my toilet, past the second sink. And it was about a good 9, 10 and a half feet away. And that's what happened. So now the way that I came back, the way that I remember what happened, like the water going through me and everything, because I went to bed right after that and I dreamt it. And I remember the next day, I think I had a nap, and that night I kept dreaming it over and over again until I remembered the whole thing. And now it's all one memory in the right sequence, including the little cubicle in the reincarnation line part that was the very, very beginning before I was sent back to the shower. Now, for that kind of mistake, I mean, I had those 2 hot water heaters. I have a friend who's a veterinarian who told me that I was able to stay alive and come back because my body temperature was maintained, because I probably had water that was at least 100 degrees, 101, and it kept my whole body above 98.6. He said if you would have lost your body temperature, you might have had a problem coming back. But other than just having lungs full of water, I had nothing physically wrong with me that would make me die, other than drowning. But let's see. So that's it. So I told you I'm Christian. I did not expect to meet God. I got sent back to the shower, and I'm back here. Now I wonder what my purpose is. It motivates me to make more videos and get my channel going. Aquarius represents water, and water represents knowledge for me. I like to spread knowledge. So did I leave any? No, see, I told you about the pre experience and some background, and that's about it. Oh, when I got up that morning, I went to go get coffee when the sun came up. And I went to the 7-Eleven, and this guy Marvin, he's from Bangladesh, and he saw me, and he was like, oh, he goes, what happened to you? And I freaked him out. He was so scared he wouldn't even look at me. He says, you're a different color. You look like you've aged 20 years overnight. What? And I said, well, I kind of had an accident, but I can tell you about it later. I don't think I ever did tell him. I still know where he lives because I built his fence. So maybe one day I'll go look him up, knock on his door. And maybe I'll film it, and we'll do a follow-up to this video. So he saw me. My hot water bill that month was like $450 more than it ever was. Yeah, I got a scar that started on my cheek that kind of turned later into other dermatological problem, and then eventually just wound up picked to death, basically. I guess it just kind of died being mashed there. I also had another spot. My hair, I had to wear a bandana for about 4 months, 5 months, till all my hair on my head grew back. 'Cause I had one. So, yeah, I drowned for over an hour and a half, completely underwater, and must have just left my body when I finally had no more vital signs. And I must have left out of boredom because my body wasn't doing anything. I don't know. So if you saw my first video about this, I hope you like this one a little better. I'll try to do even better. I don't know any great way to put this out. And I don't want to go and get this super edited and throw in pictures and sound effects and put in music and beat. I just don't want to cheese it up and campy it, make it campy, because it has to be my story as I remember it, as I see it. But I hope you liked my story. I'm glad I had that experience. Some days when things aren't going so well, I know I came back for a reason, and I'm just searching for it. Like I'll have my moment or my things that I do. And maybe you watching this is one of them, okay? So please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for when I put up other videos, okay? Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye.